Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have another pen to show you here. Now this pen has already been inked up and I have actually been using it for a number of weeks. So as you can see here from the box, it is Armando Simoni Club, or ASC for short. Now there's a bit of a backstory to this pen and I'll tell you that in a little while. But let me just unbox the pen first. So it comes in this sort of very plain box. It's a very hard sort of cardboard box, but it's actually quite nice. And if I lift the lid and move it out of the way, you'll see it actually comes in a much more nicer sort of like herringbone type of box, but the herringbone type is actually a Greek key, which is actually what Omas used to use on all of their pens, and it's something that ASC, or Armando Simoni Club, have been using on their pens too, specifically the Arco versions of the celluloid, and likewise other pens in the range. So there isn't a flap, so this doesn't fold down. So let me just remove it like so. You'll also see that it comes with this like tissue paper, so I'll remove that out of the way. And as you can see here, it's just a sort of fairly basic box. It's a lot more rigid than the outer box is. Again, it's still almost like a very heavy, very thick card type box with the Greek key on. Now, this part here is a flap and it's magnetic, so it opens up, and in here you can see the pen. And this is the Armando Simoni Club Bologna Extra Wild Side. Now, this comes in two trims, a gold trim, a rhodium trim, which is what this one is. There is also a dark side, which is the ruthenium or dark trim, hence the name dark side. Now the box here says no compromise. Our pens are 100% handmade in Italy and we are proud of that. And they are. Now I kind of like this new style sort of box here, because the pen levitates inside, and it's another magnetic box, and you can actually use this as a display box if you wanted to, and I think that looks quite nice like so. But move that out of the way. The box itself, you actually have a pull-up tab here, and this plinth removes, but it says, "We believe in making great pens. We believe beauty is the essence of each pen. We insist only in excellence. Attention to detail and craftsmanship is what we strive for. We design every pen with you, our collector, in mind. Our box will protect your precious pen from rust and humidity." Now, I'm not too sure how much that claim really comes true. It's not technically an airtight box as such, but you are restricting the amount of like sea air that could actually get to the pen if it's, say, out on display. We believe safeguarding the planet and its resources is of vital importance for humanity. ASC takes the lead in reducing its carbon footprint in our new packaging. After all, we are pen makers, not box collectors. Now, I kind of agree with that and kind of disagree with it as well. If you're spending over $1,000 on a pen, sometimes you expect to have a more of an expensive style box. That said, we when we add these to our collections, or if we are collectors, then we tend to have a lot of these boxes, so trying to actually store them is a real difficulty. Now, you don't get this in necessarily all of their pens, because I've got a number of the ASC pens, but you have an Armando Simoni Club member card in here, like so, and it's just in this flap, and that can be filled out by the dealer or the retailer. You don't always get these, from my experience. I think this may be more on the pre-order pens, but these are shavings from the actual pen. And then You get just something from Salvatore, who makes these pens. Salvatore is from Leonardo Pens. He makes these on license to ASC, or Armando Simoni Club. And then also I have here the Armando Simoni Club warranty card, and this was filled out. This is a Wild Bologna, and the date of purchase. So that's basically what you get in the box. So let's put all this away, and I'll show you the pen, and I'll give you a little bit more of the back history of this pen. So the pen, as I said, it's in this like magnetic box. So basically you just prise it open, and there is the pen, and it comes with a medallion as well for ASC, and you can just remove that, and I'll remove the box. And here is the pen, and it is a lovely, lovely, stunning pen. Now, for me, there is a little bit of a backstory. I bought a similar pen, and this was the Arco Brown version, and I had ordered this in June of last year, in 2017. And unfortunately, it was very limited to get hold of the Arco Brown, and I waited until around about October time, and I still wasn't able to pick one up. I went to the London Pen Show. There was a couple there, but they were on more of the expensive side. So I decided to wait, and I managed to get in with another retailer at that moment, which was Sarge, the one-man pen show. He managed to get me the Arco Brown version of the Bologna Extra, but I then had to wait till January because of stocks and not being able to get hold of the pen. So I had to wait 6 months to get this, and then I got the pen, and it wrote nicely. Once I had a problem with the nib, that nib got changed. It wrote nicely, but it wasn't perfect until about 6 months later, when I managed to play with the pen and got it writing spectacularly. And the main issue I had was with the Magic Flex nib not working as well, and I was able to improve that. So I then decided that I would buy the Arco Verde version of this pen that was just about to be announced and released. But then I was browsing a very dangerous website, Chatterley Luxuries, from Brian Greer, and he had the Wild side, and he had it at a ridiculous price. He had two pens. He had the gold trim version of the Wild side, and he had the rhodium trim, which is basically silver trim. And he had them at the pre-order prices, and at that point I decided I would buy one. So this wasn't a planned purchase, and I was just browsing Chatterley for other pens, primarily looking for the Verde as well to see what Brian's prices were. And then I decided to pick this one up. So let me move this out of the way. So this is the Wild side, and Brian actually had these for, I want to say, a couple of months, from what I recall. Now, and they weren't selling, and I think the reason is that these probably aren't considered as nice and attractive looking as the Arco versions, and they come in really at a similar price. But this pen has grown on me, and I really have started to love this pattern. And this is an original Omas celluloid. Omas did the Galileo in the Arco Wild, and they also did a number of other pens like the 360, and there were other pens as well. So this is really nice, and this, as I said, this has really grown on me. Now, it is a large pen, as you can see here. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see it is not small, and if I uncap it, you will see that it is pretty large. Now, if I do post it, you'll see that this becomes an absolute wand. So I never post these pens at all, and I find that the weight of this pen is actually pretty useful as it is. So I don't need to do that. So I think let's take a look at the pen here. So in terms of the pen, we'll do some measurements and weight checks in a little bit. But the cap finial here comes into just a tapered sort of point there. The cap actually starts to taper out to the cap band. Now you have like an Omas style clip here, and this is a roller clip. And then you have the ASC medallion there. And then you have this Greek band or Greek key band here that goes around. And this actually feels quite rough, as though it's maybe laser engraved. And then the pen starts to taper down slightly to the filling knob. And this is a plunger filler or a pneumatic filler. So, and I'll show you on another pen in a little bit how this works. This one is inked up, so I don't want to eject ink out everywhere. But the pen is lovely. Now, you will see here, this white here does have like a bit of a green tinge going on to it across the whole of the body, the cap, and the section. But it's a lovely sort of whitish, creamy green kind of tinge. Now here, it's very hard to see, but there is an inscription into the pen body here, and it does say the ASC Bologna Extra Wild, and it gives you the pen number there. Now, I believe there are only 25 available in the gold trim and the rhodium trim, and I believe that there might only be 25 available in the ruthenium trim as well. So 75 pens in the Bologna Extra. Now, if I uncap it, I'll show you here. As I said, this is inked up, and this has the magic 18 karat magic flex nib here. And I've got a green ink inked up at the moment, and it is the Ackermann Bezuiden Woodgrawn. Now, I probably completely mullered the name there. Also, the other thing here is that you will see another Greek band here on the section. And what I will do, I will show you how you fill this pen. Actually, I can probably do it. I can do it on this pen, actually. What I'll do, you can actually unscrew the section here. And what you'll see here is you have this brass tubing, and then you have this sack inside it. So let me just put this back into there so it doesn't dry out. So basically what happens is you unscrew the filling knob here, and it has a lot of threads, and then you pull it out. And what you do, there is a very small hole here that you can see on the tip of the filling knob. So what you do is you put the pen into your ink bottle here, and you push it down, and your finger is over that hole. Then you let your finger off, and then it sucks up the ink into this sack. And that's basically how you fill the pen. So it's actually like an old style pneumatic filler. I'm just going to screw this down because I don't want to cause it to inject ink everywhere, because this is quite a full pen. But it's actually quite a good filling mechanism. It does hold around about 2 milliliters of ink, so it's quite a good capacity pen. It is quite large though, but it's a pen that I like the size and I like the weight of. So for me, this is the reason, now that I got my Bologna Arco brown working quite nicely, I decided to pick this one up. So I think let's do some size and weight checks. So in terms of size, we are looking at around about 158 millimeters in length. So that's quite a large pen. The cap is 70 millimeters long. And then let's unscrew and the section, and then the cap, and then we're looking So around about 147, 148 millimeters in length to the tip of the tines. So this is quite a large pen, and it's quite a heavy pen as well. So in terms of weight, let's have a look. Inked up, we are looking at just under 57 grams. Now, it's not the heaviest pen. I have pens around 70 grams. The cap is just under 12 grams, and then the body, inked up, we're looking at just under 45 grams. But it is still obviously quite a weighty pen. So if you don't like a heavy pen, then that is certainly something you need to bear in mind. If this is a pen that you really want to look to own. Now, as I said, the price on these aren't cheap. They do come in around about $1,000. So you do have to bear that in mind. So I think from here, let's do a writing sample. So this is the Armando Simoni Club, and it's a Bologna Extra Wild. Having problems fitting this on the page. Now it is a 18 karat Magic Flex nib, and it is quite a wet pen. Now the ink I have in here, as I mentioned earlier on, is Akamon, and this is Bezuiden, if I spell this right, Bezuiden Wood Gone. It's a lovely green, and I think really the green kind of matches up with these like whitish, creamy green tinge, sort of almost like veins that go through the body here. Now, in terms of this, really is a fine nib. You don't get it in any other nibs or nib widths. I find it tends to write more like a medium because it's quite wet. So I think in terms of like normal line variation without any pressure, this is the kind of line variation you're going to get. Now, if I start to add a bit more pressure, you can get quite a bit of line variation here. Now, if I do that here with the figure of eights, you can see that you do get quite a bit of line variation here. Now, in terms of wetness, let's have a look here. It's quite a wet nib. Now, I have actually run this ink down quite a bit, so there's not as much ink in this pen as there was previously, but I find sometimes that this can write very wet, and this is quite a wet nib as it is. Sometimes it goes on to be a fire hose or what I would call a tsunami. So when it is fully inked up, I will actually get a really wet writer out of this one. But this is a really nice pen. I do like it a lot, and I'm glad that I added it to my collection because for me this is I do like these Bolognas or the Bologna Extra pens from ASC. Now that I've actually got my Arco Brown to write nicely, this one writes nicely out of the box, no problems with it whatsoever. Now they do say although it's a Magic Flex nib, you shouldn't flex it. It's not like a modern flex necessarily or a vintage flex. You can do a little bit of flexing on it, and get a lot more flexing out of the pen if you want to push it a little bit harder. But you do have to be careful. If you're going to flex any nib, you do risk the chance of springing the tines. So I try not to push my nibs that much. If I do, I'll do a little test here or there, but I won't flex it much more than really I've flexed it here on this writing sample. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.